Hey, what's up? If you clicked on this video and you decided to watch it, it's probably because you have some kind of interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Um, Probably don't understand it, or somebody's told you about it and it's piqued your interest. Little background for me, I've been involved in Bitcoin since 2013. I've been involved in cryptocurrency as a space with Ethereum, Litecoin, and multiple other cryptocurrencies as far back as 2015. I'm not an expert. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert, but I would say that um, in this area around here, I probably have the most knowledge, I think would be safe to say, in regards to this because of my extensive experience buying, trading, researching. Before I ever owned any Bitcoin, I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of videos. I read the white paper. Um, so I didn't just blindly go into Bitcoin without knowing anything about it. And I'm going to start off by saying I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. I'm not telling you how to invest your own capital, what to do with your own money. This is purely an information video. I've been getting a lot of messages from people, text messages, Twitter messages, Facebook messages. Hey, what's Bitcoin? Hey, how do I buy it? What is it about? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? And I've been doing my best to answer everybody's individual questions that they have. I really believe in the space. I really promote the space. It's great to see people get involved, so I'm always willing to help. But I figured that maybe it would be easy if I just created a video to kind of give a lot of the information that I just give to people on an individual basis if they clicked on this, saw it, and then maybe shared it with somebody else that had some of the same questions. So I'm going to start with the basics. I got some notes here, so I'm going to kind of go back to my notes as I explain some of this stuff. What is a cryptocurrency? Let's start with that. Cryptocurrencies are decentralized, and that means that no one person or entity controls or owns Bitcoin. If you think of the stock market is something that trades Monday through Friday. For most of us, the trading hours are 9:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then that's it. You can't trade after that. There is after-hours trading, but not everybody has access to that after-hours trading. Bitcoin is a network. No one owns, no one controls it. It is a 24/7, 365. Christmas, Thanksgiving, any day. It's trading. It's going. You can't stop it. You have to actually shut the internet off to stop Bitcoin from trading. So what happened today with GameStop and AMC and some of these other stocks, that platforms like Robinhood and TD Ameritrade just completely stop people from being able to trade in and out of that stock. That can't happen with Bitcoin. There have been exchanges that have gone down and stuff like that, but Bitcoin itself is a 24/7, 365 endeavor. Bitcoin's a cryptocurrency. Like I said, everything else like the United States dollar, any other currency, Canadian, Euro, the yen, Australian, all those are digital currencies. Okay, so sometimes you hear people say digital currencies and they kind of get confused and think that that's Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's a cryptocurrency. Most of our currencies now that we use, the money in your pocket, the credit card that you use, your debit card, that's all become digitized. So people are transacting digitized with fiat currency. So that is controlled by Federal Reserves, central banks. The United States is the Federal Reserve. They control the digital currencies. No central bank of any state in the world is decentralized. Okay, so that's a big thing with Bitcoin, that it's decentralized. Governments control the money supply. They control inflation. They control interest rates. They have all the control on our currencies, and they decide if it goes up, if it goes down. And we are just kind of pawns in that game, and we can get hurt in that game because the very few control that game. And Bitcoin was created as an opportunity for everyday people to take control of their finances. Governments, like central banks, Janet Yellen, who is Biden's Treasury Secretary pick, is a former Fed Reserve Chair, and she spoke out last week against cryptocurrencies. And a lot of times you'll see in the news countries or entities speaking on banning cryptocurrency because of the fear of what Bitcoin represents and the people that trade Bitcoin. Again, they can try to stop Bitcoin from trading, but unless you shut the internet down, it can't be banned. It can't be stopped. They can do their best to try to regulate the exchanges that trade it, but it's not something that can be stopped. And these organizations are starting to realize the threat that it poses to the traditional markets, and that's why you hear stuff like that. They call that FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, and they try to manipulate the prices with that. If you've paid any attention to any financial news in the last couple months, you've seen that corporations as well as some banks have been actually buying Bitcoin. One of the biggest examples of that is MicroStrategy. They are a company that has put almost $1 billion of United States capital of their balance sheets into cryptocurrency. And since they've been doing it, what they're doing is they're taking the money from their balance sheet that they have in capital, putting it into Bitcoin, and it's outpacing the price of their stock price, and their stock price is actually going up as the Bitcoin price goes up. So what they're doing is they're hedging against the falling United States dollar by putting their money into these cryptocurrencies. Legendary investor Paul Tudor Jones, he's a multi-billionaire. Earlier in 2020, he said that he put 2% of his entire net worth into Bitcoin. So if you think about how much money that represents, someone worth billions of dollars and putting 2% of that into something like Bitcoin, that's a relatively big deal. That's a large acquisition. Another investor, Raoul Pal, he's recently in the last couple of months said that he has somewhere around 90% of all his total investable assets in Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's rather crazy. As much as I believe in it, I wouldn't even do that, but to each their own. Why would these smart businessmen and businesses be buying up these large quantities and positioning themselves in their personal portfolios in something that's a scary asset or crazy or is just going to go down, Ponzi scheme, all the stuff you hear about Bitcoin? Why are all these really smart, really rich people starting to put their money into Bitcoin? That's the question that you got to start asking yourself. Countries have been in the news floating the ideas of creating their own digitized currencies. Again, coming back to that word, digital currencies. That is something that already exists. Like I said, the United States dollar is already digitized. When you go to Target and you use your credit card or you use your debit card or even the Target credit card, it's a digital transaction. It's already occurring. So all these companies are going to do is create what's already existing. Your money has already been digitized. It's digits on a screen. Will this replace the need for Bitcoin is what people ask. Will Bitcoin become obsolete? Even a company like Facebook is trying to create a Libra coin. Again, that's a centralized coin that is run by Facebook. The United States dollar is run by the United States government. They control it. Again, Bitcoin is decentralized. No one controls it. No one is in charge of it. No one is making it go up and down. No one person, one entity. The other thing about Bitcoin, the thing that originally attracted me to it, that made me start to really put my money into it and say, yeah, this is something that I can see as going somewhere. It has a finite supply. What does finite supply mean? United States dollar, okay? You saw last year, they printed a ton of money, right? They gave out money. You got your 1,200, you got your 600, you're going to get another 1,400. They are printing money and they are giving out money. 1971, we were on the gold standard, okay? Every dollar had to be pegged to gold. We got off that gold standard in 1971, and since then, our money's continuing to devalue. It's continually worth less and less than it was back then. So the supply of United States dollars is relatively infinite. They can just keep printing. They can print more, print more, print more. Bitcoin has 21 million coins, okay? There never will be more than 21 million coins. It's a finite supply. Bitcoin isn't special because it's digital. Bitcoin is special because it's finite and that limited supply. Bitcoin is also special because it's not owned by anyone. The network is open to everyone. All of the central banks in the world control their money supplies. Again, Bitcoin's not controlled. When state nations create their own digitized currencies, nothing actually changes. The same thing that's already been happening. It's just, news that's really not even news. We already use our phones to buy things. Most of our daily transactions are digital. Our circulating money supply is basically digital. Not a lot of people that I know really carry cash in their pocket. I'm old school. I do carry cash in my pocket, but there's not really many people like that do. Most people just carry their cards. The inflation is the issue. In a typical year, inflation in this country is around 1%. So that means it costs around 1% more to buy what you bought last year. That's what they usually want to keep it at. However, The reality is that that number is usually around 2 to 3%. On some occasions in recent memory. What that means, for those that aren't hip to financial terminology, each year the same amount of money buys less and less goods and services. Things cost more for the same goods and services that you're using. Transacting the United States dollar continues to erode your buying power year after year. Typical years in the last 12 years, the financial crisis in 2008 caused us to have to start printing money to bail out the banks, to save financial markets. So they were printing around 1 trillion United States dollars every single year. And again, you print more money, you cause inflation to go up. In 2020, during the pandemic, they printed around $7 trillion, okay? Usually they're printing one. They printed $7 trillion. Biden is about to sign another bill that's going to go to Congress. That's going to be, they're talking about somewhere between 1 to 1.9 trillion, and it's just the beginning of the year. Another 1.9 trillion. That's double where we were before. So what does that do to our money? What does that do to the supply? What does that do to inflation? It means that things are going to cost more. It means that our dollar is worth less. There's a chart on the internet. You can look it up if you Google it. From 1971, when we went off the gold standard, to today, the United States dollar has lost about 97% of its buying power in just 50 years, half of a century. In a lot of some of our lifetimes, people that we know's lifetimes, 97% of the United States dollar, is buying power, has been eroded away. And again, getting back to the scarcity, 21 million Bitcoin will only ever exist. They'll never create more. The protocol has been set up in that manner. There's another statistic. The entire world, the whole 8 billion people out there, there's around 46.8 millionaires, or 46.8 million millionaires, okay, in the entire world. So if we ever got to a place where each one of those millionaires said, hey, I want to own 1 Bitcoin, it's impossible. They never could, okay? All 46.8 billion millionaires can never own 1 full Bitcoin. Think about that. 1 full Bitcoin can never be owned by all of those millionaires. They can all own stocks. They can all own cash. They can all own any other investment they're thinking about. But Bitcoin, they all cannot own 1 full Bitcoin. That's the power of a finite supply. So those are the type of things that push up value. Because if people want to get involved, the price has to go up for them to be able to get a piece of that 1 coin. And again, 1 Bitcoin, I don't think I covered this yet, is divisible by 8 places. So you can get as much as 0.0000 all the way to the 8th place of 1. And we call that 1 Satoshi. So there's 100 million Satoshis in 1 full Bitcoin. So another misconception is, I don't have I think it's at 32,000 when I'm making this video. I don't have $32,000 to buy a Bitcoin, I can't own it. You can own as much as $5 worth of Bitcoin, $10 worth of Bitcoin. Whatever you're comfortable buying, you can own that, and it becomes divisible by that decimal point in that Bitcoin. So you don't have to own 1 full coin. You can own any part of a coin. You can get your exposure started for a very minimal amount. Whatever you're comfortable with investing in, you can do that at your comfort level. So the other thing about Bitcoin is the transaction time. When you transact in US dollars, you transact with your checking account. You go and you use that debit card, right? And you get the goods and services at that time. But the bank transaction actually doesn't occur and clear through the clearinghouse for a couple of days. Traditionally, around 2 to 3 days to clear that clearinghouse. Even when you get credited, the balance sheets don't get evened out for a couple of days. So it's not really an instant transaction. It's almost like it's being borrowed. When you're using that credit card or that digitized piece of plastic, it's a credited transaction that hasn't even taken place yet. We're still so prehistoric in our transactions with our transactional system. Bitcoin is an instantaneous transaction, okay? If I can send $10 worth of Bitcoin right now to somebody on the other side of the world, somebody in China, I can send $10 in Bitcoin to somebody in China, and that transaction occurs instantaneously. Now, there are protocols in place that there has to be transaction confirmations for that because the double spend, you don't want to double spend a coin. It's a little bit more of a complex concept. I'm not going to really go over in this video per se because it'll just drag on forever. And I would, if you're really interested about Bitcoin, watching videos, read about that. It's in the white paper. But it takes a couple confirmations. But basically, within 10 minutes to an hour, that transaction is done. Your $10 is sent to that person. It's done. There's no clearinghouse to go through. It is done. So In 2021, we, through our traditional currencies and transactional power, we don't really have what's called a borderless currency, right? If I get on a plane and I travel to another country and I have my United States dollars in my pocket, or I have my credit card or my debit card, when I transact, that has to be exchanged into another currency, and there's a fee for that, right? If I'm gonna take my dollars into Europe and I want to get into a euro, I'm going to have to pay fees for that, and I have to change my money into the euros to transact. If I'm going to transact on the street, or I don't want to pay those exorbitant, the fees, the transaction fee, the currency exchange fees, Bitcoin is the first, as well as some of the other cryptocurrencies that have come along, borderless payment option. Again, if I travel to the UK and I want to give somebody $100, I can give them $100 in Bitcoin without having to worry about transaction fees, without having to worry about taking my United States dollars, putting it into a euro. It can happen just like that without worrying about any of the foreign exchange stuff. It's another great thing about cryptocurrencies. So in closing, always do your research, like I said. Don't put a dollar into anything that you don't have at least some semblance of confidence in being able to explain to another person. Never invest more than you're comfortable losing in any investment that you decide to invest in. Like I said, I've been in Bitcoin since late 2013. I've understood the vision of what Bitcoin, back then, I mean, it went from $1,000 down to $199 at one point from 2013 to 2014, and I was adding at that point. I was getting as much Bitcoin as I possibly get. I've talked about it before. A lot of free sources were out there for me to accumulate coin back then, and I took advantage of all of them. And I believed in it way back then because I seen what this could become. And, I mean, I was telling people back then it was a couple $100 that it could be, 100,000 someday, or it could go up to a couple 100,000 or even $1 million. And people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? This shit's, $200 and it's going down. And here we are today where the price went up to 40K and it's at 32,000 now. To think about, an asset that was worth a couple $100 a couple of years ago, and now it's tens of thousands of dollars, and it's changed a ton of people's lives. Me personally, I was able to take advantage of the last bull run and cash out a significant amount and set myself up where I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not rich by any stretch of the means, but I'm in a comfortable financial position. I still have quite a bit of crypto left to ride, this next wave up, because this is something that I believe in. I talk about it, and I'm going to own it because I'm pumping it. So I just I want people to be educated. There are options out there for people to get involved. In the United States, there's 2 exchanges. I'm not really a fan of Coinbase. I got a bad history with them, but that is an option for people. They have been known to shut trading down, kind of like Robinhood has, and that kind of takes me away from messing with them. I use Gemini for my exchange, and I also keep a significant portion of my Bitcoin in a cold storage wallet. Again, that's another complex concept that I'm not going to go into this video. Watch some videos on it. I have a 12-seed password. It's almost impossible to hack that, and I'm gonna hold a significant money position in that, so it can't be, not that I'm worried about Gemini being hacked, but that's more just for, I don't own my own keys. And again, that's another concept that I would suggest you watching some video on about owning your own keys and stuff like that. But like I said, I do trade on Gemini. I do keep, I keep my Litecoin on there. I keep my Ethereum on there, and I keep a small position of Bitcoin on there. And as I'm still using sites to get it, or here and there I'm buying and I'm putting, a raise or whatever I get into cryptocurrencies, Gemini's the exchange that I use. For anyone that's interested in getting some exposure, again, do your research before you do. I'm going to put a link to my Gemini on this video, wherever I decide to tag it. I don't know if I'm going to put it on YouTube or I'm just going to post this to Facebook. I haven't decided yet. But I'll put my Gemini link in there. If you do decide to buy, and you were to buy $100 worth, you get $10 free of Bitcoin as transacting. But again, I can't stress enough, don't put $1 into crypto. Even as much as I love it, don't put $1 into crypto until you get on YouTube, watch some videos, Google the white paper of Bitcoin, read it, see what it's all about, and then if you still feel like, yes, this is something I should get involved in, then do it. If we haven't learned anything from the last couple of days watching the stock market, you got to know the game that you're getting into. I always preach, when I run financial classes at my job in my rehab that I work at, and I always talk about this. Money and finance is a game. Okay, it's like any sport that you play. You wouldn't play a sport or be successful at a sport that you don't understand the rules to and you didn't practice. So money and finance is exactly the same. It's a game, and unfortunately, many of us on a daily basis are getting fucked by this game. So you need to understand the rules of the game to play the game. Personally, I feel like Bitcoin is has come along to help us make our own new rules to a game. Bitcoin has its own rules that are completely outside of the rules of that system. That's why I love it so much. That's why I'm in it. But again, I hope this video answered some questions. This is the first time I've ever done a video like this. It probably rambled on. I'm looking, it's over 20 minutes long. I was hoping it would be like 10 or 15, but doing my best. I got notes and stuff that I was talking with. Again, if you have any questions, wherever I post this, I don't know where I'm going to post it yet. I haven't decided. Wherever it gets posted, comment on it, send me messages. I'm still willing to answer any questions that you have. Do your research, and if you get involved, welcome to the revolution. Thanks.